Hello everyone, Coach Craig here. Welcome back to Coach Craig Sports. Today is Monday, so we're gonna be going over my fantasy baseball leagues. These will be the two leagues I did my draft reactions for earlier this year, and then we'll talk about how my team's doing and just kind of the transactions for the week. So both these leagues, they run Fab system for waivers. You can pick them up once a week on Monday. We're gonna start with my team in the Bartman's Headphone Leagues. This is the league I'm the commissioner of. This is my team, team name Valbuena all the way. You guys will see a little bit different than what I first started out with. Initially I started out with Travis Darnod and Tyler Flowers. Darnod and Flowers, they were actually both on the IL at the beginning of the year. They didn't test positive, but they were put on the precautionary list pretty much. I picked up Tony Walters and Alex Jackson at the time. I dropped Flowers and I kept Walters because he was playing a little bit more. Since then, he hasn't been playing as much, so that was my first week of transactions. Bellinger, Marte, pretty much the same. Last week, I picked up Colin Moran. He's been hitting pretty good so far this year. I had Lorenzo Cain, who opted out, as most of you probably already know, so I had to pick up somebody to fill in his shoes. So Moran was the guy, and then I was able to move Brian Anderson to the outfield. Tatis, Castro, Murphy, they're all the same still. My outfield's pretty much the same, besides, obviously, like I said, Kane opted out, so Anderson got moved there. We had quite a bit of pitching changes, I'd say. So this week, Carlos Martinez went on the IL, and then Kyle Crick and Alex Vesia go on the IL before that. So all in all, I picked up Brusdar Gatorol. If you guys watched my second video, I drafted him in that league. He is a relief pitcher for the Dodgers. I think he could be their closer one day. He throws 100 miles an hour consistently. Let's see, who else did we pick up here? Then we picked up, last week I picked up Jairo Diaz. He's the closer for Colorado for the time being at least. And then this week I picked up Rowan Wick, who's got 2 saves so far for the Cubs. He is likely going to be their closer going forward with Kimbrel struggling. So my team overall, pretty much the same. Couple of little pickups this week. And the last couple weeks, I'm just going to recap real quick. My starting pitching hasn't been doing so good. Bumgarner's been real rough to start the year. He pitched a little bit better his last start, but then he gave up a couple runs later on in the game. And then Dakota Hudson, he hasn't been pitching because the Cardinals obviously haven't been playing. So we're looking for a little bit more strength at starting pitching. This is an NL-only league, 10-team league. I'm going to go back to the league. I'll show you all the guys that were actually picked up this week. So I'll go down here, auction report. So this will show everybody that got picked up, all the bids they were placed. So Scott Kingery he was the first one, the highest one that went. He went for $13. Merrill Kelly was $9. He's been pitching real well. Then I had Rowan Wick for $8, and we used a $100 Fab system budget for the year. Antonio Senzatella, he's been pitching real well as well. I think he's 3-0 so far. He's $8 as well. Alex Mills was picked up for $6. Nico Horner was actually picked up for $4, since the guy that picked up Horner already picked up Kingery and he didn't have a spot for him. And then Jeremy Jeffress was picked up for $4. He could also get some saves for the Cubs this year. And then we had Pablo Lopez for $2. Chadwick Trump went here for $2. David Bodie for $1. And that was pretty much it for this league. Nothing too crazy this week. A couple good guys that got picked up. Kingery, obviously, he's been struggling this year. Merrill Kelly and Rowan Wick, probably the two biggest ones that get picked up this week. Nico Horner as well. Excuse me. I'm going to show you guys the standings for this league so far. So far, this is rotisserie scoring. I'm in 5th place so far. As you guys can see, I'm doing really well in the runs categories, RBIs, stolen bases, and pretty high up in on base percentage as well. Tied for 5th in home runs. 5th in home runs with 20. Obviously, 8 of them are coming in for Fernando Tatis Jr. The pitching is struggling a little bit. We're second to last in strikeouts and wins. Last in ERA and WHIP so far. Obviously, a lot of that's got to do with the poor starting pitching, but our saves were first overall so far. A little ways to go for this league. Top 4 get payouts, with 4th place getting their money back. So we got to bump up a little bit and get our money back this year. I still think our team's pretty good. Pitching if the pitching can come around a little bit. Obviously, the offense is doing pretty well. Then I'm going to switch over to my other team. So this is Taco Bell League. It's a weird head-to-head format. We play every single team every week. And so far, my team is 4-15-5. It's pretty bad. I thought this team was going to be doing a little bit better, but Goldschmidt's one of my main players. He's with the Cardinals, so he's obviously not been playing. And this league is a 13-team NL league, so there's not a lot of, like, you can't just go pick up somebody to replace him. With that being said, this week's going to be a little rough for me too, because Cardinals and the Pirates series is already canceled, and I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 6 hitters between that series, and like I looked at the waiver wire, and there's not like anybody like these fringe guys or like kind of the guys that aren't great to drop for like just somebody else that's actually playing. That's kind of hurts. And then I had Musgrove and Ponce de Leon as well for pitchers that would have been in that series. Musgrove's a little banged up himself as well. If you seen my draft reaction video number 2, you kind of see where we started at. So far I picked up, let's see what I picked up all together. So these guys were all guys I had drafted. Cole Tucker we kept. So I picked up Nick Markakis this week. I got him for $16 fab. I wasn't sure, like this league, I figured he would go for more than that just because he's a decent hitter that's on the waiver wire, and you don't find those very often in this league, especially in a shortened season. So I thought he'd go for a lot more, but he's $16. Obviously, if we kind of have to tear down this team and rebuild and get some future keepers for next year, he's a guy we can trade off. We could trade off him. We could trade off Tommy Pham, Paul Goldschmidt, maybe Brian Anderson, Dansby Swanson, people like that. This is a keeper league, so you'll try to get guys that have cheap salaries for next year. Last week I picked up Austin Slater. I picked him up for $6. He's been doing pretty well so far. He had two home runs the other day. He has 3 stolen bases so far. Our minor leaguers are still the same. These are all our pitchers that are hurt or on the IL already. So we got Mitch Keller that was there. Carlos Martinez, like our other league. Ryan Helsley. He actually tested positive, and then Alex Vesia as well. So this week we picked up Tyler Anderson. He's a starting pitcher for the Giants for $4. He's been pitching pretty decent so far this year. His whip's a little bit high, but his ERA has done pretty well. If I remember correctly, he started one game, then he was in the bullpen for one game, and then this week he started again and pitched 5 pretty good innings. Then we had Musgrove and Richards to start with. I picked up Senzatella. I think I picked him up last week for $6. I picked up Tuki Toussaint for $4 last week. Bruce Dargator we already had to start the year. Eliezer Diaz I picked up this week for $8. He's probably one of the best starters that was available right now. Ponce de Leon I picked up last week for $4. And then I picked up Tanner Rainey for $1 this week. There wasn't too much like out there. He's pitched pretty well. Daniel Hudson and Sean Doolittle haven't pitched the greatest this year, so maybe Rainey's a guy that could sneak in and get some saves this year. Obviously, as you see, I don't really have closers in this league. It just didn't fall that way in the draft. I thought maybe Helsley could get some saves. I was kind of thinking maybe Vesia would step up at some point this year and get some saves as well. Obviously, those two guys are on the IL now, with both their teams being two of the primary teams that are dealing with the virus. I'm going to go to the transactions. I'll just show you guys this week all the transactions from from today, actually. So Matt Davidson was picked up for $1, and that guy had Mike Moustakas, so he just put him on the IL. Like I said, we got Tanner Rainey for $1. Somebody picked up Tyler Flowers for $4 and dropped Matt Wieters. Kind of interesting. Wieters is probably going to get more playing time now, especially with Yadier being on the IL after he tested positive. But like I said, with my team, Cardinals aren't playing right now. We're not really sure when they're going to play, so he's probably looking for a guy that's going to get some at-bats. Like I said, I picked up Nick Markakis for $16. I dropped Matt Beattie. The reason I dropped him is he wasn't getting a whole lot of at-bats with the Dodgers this year. I thought maybe with the DH he might get a couple more at-bats, but their team's just so loaded, like he's just not getting it. Then this team picked up JT Baker. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. For $2. Then he put Caleb Smith on the IL. Somebody picked up Carlos Estevez for $1, and they put Samardzija on the IL. Estevez is a guy who could see a couple save chances as well with the Rockies this year. Like I said, we picked up Hernandez and put Martinez on the IL for $8. Then we picked up Tyler Anderson for $4. I had Joey Lucchesi, who pitched pretty awful so far this year, and he actually got sent down to the minors by the Padres, so we moved him down to the minor leagues in our system, and we grabbed Tyler Anderson. Then we got Logan Morrison, who got picked up. for $3. This guy had Phillip Evans. He's actually going to miss the rest of the year. If you guys haven't seen that, there's pretty nasty collision between him and Gregory Polanco. Polanco's elbow actually ended up in Evans' face when they were going for a fly ball together. Evans was knocked out, and he's actually carted off on a stretcher. This guy picked up Jeremy Jeffress for $11, like I said in the other part of this video. He could see some save chances for the Cubs. He had Michael Wacha. Then the same guy, he picked up Eric Gonzalez. I was thinking about picking him up, but I already have too many Cardinals and Pirates on my team. He's been getting a lot of at-bats, but with the series already being canceled, I just couldn't risk picking up another Pirates player and just not having somebody play. So that's kind of how I went after Markakis. I actually went over after Markakis, Logan Forsythe, who's been playing a little bit for the Marlins, and I can't remember who else. Mark Mathias. He's been playing a little bit for the Brewers now after Lorenzo Cain opted out. Then somebody picked up Joanne Camargo, and they put Albies to the IL. That made sense. Camargo was going to play some second base, some third base, especially with Albies being out now. And Chris Owings actually went for $13, which this kind of shocked me. He's playing a little bit better than in recent years, but I don't think he's worth that. Then somebody picked up Edwin Rios as well for $11. He's got 3 or 4 home runs so far, and they had Matt Adams, who went on the IL. Then somebody picked up Brett Anderson for $2, and they put Nick Birdie to the IL. I think Anderson pitches against the Twins this week. That's why I wasn't interested in picking him up. And then somebody picked up Phil Gosselin, who's off to a decent start this year, but he's pretty much just a bench bat for the Phillies. And then they dropped Hunter Pence, who's hitting pretty awful so far. So that's just a quick overview of the transactions in both of my leagues this week. I also, last week, somebody reached out to me and asked if I would fill in for a team that pretty much ghosted in a points league, so I took over that team on ESPN. I can show you guys that team as well. I actually ended up coming back and winning that last week in that league, so that team that I'm replacing the owner for, 1-1 so far, or I'm going to be 1-1. They lost the first week, and then I came in and won the second week. So, brief rundown on that league. This is a mixed league. It's a points league with pretty much like every single category. This is actually my first time being in this type of points league where there's so many categories. So, there's JT Realmuto, Josh Bell, Kevin Biggio, Matt Chapman, Marcus Simeon, Kevin Newman, Jesus Aguilar, Ronald Acuna Jr., Bryce Harper, Austin Meadows, Alex Verdugo, Joe Adell, Shohei Ohtani, and then they had Trey Mancini. Apparently he was on the bench. We're going to move him to IL. I didn't realize he was actually on the bench. I thought he was on IL already. So that will open up space for us, Brian Reynolds and Nick Senzel. So this guy, he went pretty. You'll be able to see pretty soon that he focused pretty heavily on hitters and not so much on pitching. I've been kind of trying to turn over the pitching between the past week, and then I'm trying to stream pitchers day to day in one of the pitching spots. So if you're in a daily league, that's a strategy you can do. So pretty much you're picking up a pitcher every single day. You're picking up a pitcher that you think has the best matchup for the day. So for today, I picked up Kyle Gibson. He's pitching against Seattle. Seattle's not a very powerful team. Gibson's pitched all right so far this year, so I think it could be a good matchup. Then we got Robbie Ray, German Marquez, Matthew Boyd, Marco Gonzalez, Dylan Cease, Griffin Cannon, Joaquim Soria. Soria actually picked up. He's, according to this league, scoring for points. He's been doing really well, so I figure I'd give him a shot. Chris Bassett, like I said, Kyle Gibson, Joe Musgrove, and then there's also the Ohtani, the pitcher, but he's probably not going to pitch again this year. And then he had John Means as well, who's on the IL, but he's actually on the bereavement list in real life. So that's a quick rundown of that team. I also have 2 other like dynasty type of leagues. They're both contract leagues. I'll probably go over them more in a different video. But overall, this is a look at both my teams, how they're doing so far. A little bit of a look at the acquisitions I made so far. Like I said, my one team's in 5th place. I'm pretty sure we can get up to 3rd or 4th place pretty easily if our pitching comes around. My second team, obviously the viruses hit my team a little bit harder with all the Cardinals being on it, and with it being head-to-head every week. If you're not having people playing, you're just falling behind. So especially if you're playing against a team that doesn't have a handful of Cardinals on it or another team that's not playing. So there's easier to be an advantage. And since you're playing every team every week, you're playing against 12 other teams, your record's going to tank pretty quickly. Like last week, I only won one of the matchups and tied a couple other ones just because like I had less guys playing. So in this league, since it's a keeper league, you can keep up to, I believe it's 15 people in this league. So I might trade some of my better hitters and some of my overpriced guys for keepers next year and try to rebuild my team that way. So if you're in a keeper league, sometimes when you're a good part of the way into the season and you know your team's not going to compete, and you don't want to just make a trade for some big hitter on your team, think they're going to put you over the top, and then that doesn't end up happening, and then you wasted some of your future capital on somebody that's not going to help you win this year, or just getting your team ready like for next year. Some people have a hard time essentially like giving up on the season because they have money invested in it. Obviously, like with this league, we put $100 on the table to start the year, so it's kind of, for some people it's hard giving away $100, but if you can put your team in a better spot to win the next 2 or 3 years, sometimes it's worth it. Maybe you sacrifice that $100 for this year, and then next year you get second place, then the next year you get first place, and then the next year after that you get first place again. You'll make your money back. It's all about building the team for the future. There's a lot of different strategies with keeper leagues. When we go a little bit more into depth about like fantasy baseball, we can go over like some of them strategies. Some of it relates to fantasy football if you're playing in keeper leagues as well, or dynasty leagues. But that's pretty much all I got for today. If you guys liked and enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. It will help. It helps out the channel grow greatly. It also helps build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports. If you are a new subscriber or a current subscriber who hasn't already hit that notification bell, by doing so, you'll be notified every time I post a video. I think what we're going to do for this week, and probably next week, like going into next week, is obviously I had my last video was mock draft, fantasy football mock draft from the number 2 pick. We're going to be doing picking from all 12 slots over the course of the next couple weeks. So next pick I'll probably do like the number 3 slot, or I'll start at number 12 and come backwards. I think we'll probably just go with number 3 and go down the line until we get to 12. Then once we get to 12, I'll go back to number 1 since we started at 2. But that way you guys can see what a mock draft looks like from each spot and how to strategize from each position a little bit differently. That's all I got for today, guys, though. I hope you enjoyed this video and have a great rest of your day.